pretty much unchanged. It's in the $1.5 billion range, which includes the cost of reallocating some of the resources at some of the space at South Station, because we need to be, and it really has to do with the relocation of the post office. So that's in there as well. And the route is, I think the reason we're not talking about the route is because we don't want to get ahead of the process. There's a whole series of alternatives that are required to be submitted to the EPA, and we're working with the Corps on those and on the alternative analysis, and we want that process to have integrity so it moves as quickly as possible.
Yeah, let me, because I threw the word in here. I obviously have my preference. We have our preferences, but we're committed.
We all
to
have
this,
our personal preference.
Yeah, we're committed to the system being done right, and we don't want to fix this. I am optimistic that it's going to come out the way I think, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's what I want to be clear. We are not trying in any way to impinge on the legitimacy of the process. We just have our rooting interest.
The state's facing a massive fiscal crisis. I know, congressmen are trying to earmark some money for this project, but how is the entire project going to be funded?
Well, we're working that out. Obviously, we had a strategy through the gas tax, and now we have to move to other things. Fortunately, we don't need the construction money now. We will need it in a few years. We've been able to fund the planning and the work that's necessary to get us through the permitting, and we've done that with the support of state bonding.
So how can you guarantee that the whole entire project will get funded if not all the money's there right now?
Because we're focused on it, and it doesn't have to be there. But let me tell you, when the big dig started, all the money wasn't there. But we're not going to make the kinds of mistakes that were made with the big dig. This project is going to be managed well from the beginning. It's going to come in, I believe, on time and on budget, and that budget is going to be serious. And it's built in part on the economic corridor analysis that we announced today, because the $500 million of annual new economic activity is a source of support for and a big part of the rationale for this project.
Let me make a distinction. The money is not there in the sense that it is segregated and set aside. But if you look at the wealth of this country, federal and state, sure, the money's there. The question is, do we have the will to make the right decision? And if there's any question, we're talking now about a process of years out. If you look at the amount of money there, if you look at what's set aside for manned space to Mars, or Cold War weapons that we don't need, or stupid wars of the kind we just fought, there isn't any question if we have the political will, we can do it. Now, Jim and I will have a major role at the federal level with our senators in dealing with it. So if you look at, as I said, the overall wealth and resources of this country and the value of this project, yes, I'm confident.
Understand one thing, that the emphasis in our transportation funding on the federal level is changing. More and more money is being devoted to mass transit and rail. The highway reauthorization bill, I think the big focus is going to be on mass transit and rail. So the federal allocation that the state will get will be substantially more than it is right now. That plus some of the earmarks, some of the issues, some of the ways that the governor has pointed out. I think it's a safe bet to go forward. I think the funding will be there.
Governor, the economic benefit analysis that you outlined, $500 million a year, 3,800 firms, where does that come from?
And Christina, are you there? You can. It's about the economic development analysis. I'm going to ask Christina to jump in, but it's we've had 2 economic analysis firms do independent review. They're quite conservative numbers. It could well be more than that. We've been careful not to overpromise here. But the fact is, everywhere the train has ever gone, it's true in the Commonwealth, it's true in the country, has been good for business and good for economic development in the community, and it will be good for the Southwest.
What about environmental concerns? There have been some, but what do you say to people who live in some of these communities that might be affected, who are concerned about?
I think we want to be sensitive and have been sensitive as we've done the analysis to those to those environmental concerns. And as the chairman was saying in his remarks earlier, certainly one factor in that consideration is getting people out of cars and in a more efficient form of transportation.
One more question, guys.
Congressman, they could be beneficiaries. You take some of the towns could be destinations along the way. I'm speaking for me now. I'd like to see a casino down here. I think that would be very good economically in other ways. I think a stop at a casino would have a great deal of synergy. So there are a lot of advantages. Yeah.
Can you just tell us why now is so much better than all these years of failure? What is it in your mind that makes now real?
a governor who is committed to doing it, as opposed to the previous governor who didn't want us to do it. Secondly, a president of the United States and a congressional majority that has its priorities in better shape. You heard Jim McGovern say we are talking now about more rail, more of that kind of transportation. So elections have consequences, and Jim and I have been eager to do this for some time. But we can supply the resources. We can't make the leadership decisions. That's up to the executives. We now have at the federal and state level chief executives who are supportive.